You're listening to Unsound Logic with Nico and Jeremy.
Hello, everybody.
And today we're gonna talk about social justice warriors.
It's usually applied to liberal philosophies. And actually, let me stop right there before we go any further. We're going to put a disclaimer in, but it's worth pointing out that anything said in this podcast is strictly mine and Nico's opinions. This has nothing to do with Snupster in any way. We have a very wide variety of opinions on things in Snupster. This is definitely not a unified opinion. This is just what Nico and I think. So,
no affiliation whatsoever.
No affiliation at all. So please don't assume that because Nico and I feel this way or are talking about these things that the rest of the team feels this way, because I know for a fact some of them don't.
You know what a social justice warrior is? They throw out insults and preloaded statements so they can clap for each other.
That's actually a very accurate statement. We usually apply the term social justice warrior to someone who is a largely liberal individual. You won't see very many conservatives being labeled this just because we don't tend to yell things as loudly. I don't know.
So you're saying we love the facts?
That's kind of my take on it. Social justice warriors will tend to latch onto a subject, be it, we'll say, gay marriage rights or even transsexual marriage rights or something like that, or anything like that. Most conservatives, I feel like, will just either state the facts and then they'll walk away from an argument. If you don't believe them, well, then as far as the conservatives are concerned, that's your problem. Social justice warriors, on the other hand, will actively shout you down. They will belittle you and will basically refuse to listen to your side of things.
It's because they don't consider individuals as individuals. They consider people as different groups.
Yes.
I don't understand how this fucking started. Walk me through this.
I mean, I guess you could probably take it all the way back to the civil rights movement in the 1960s, but I think things were a little different then.
No internet.
It wasn't really social justice as we define it today, because, you know, most of these guys, when we talk about social justice, live off the media, like Twitter or Facebook or whatever else. And you didn't have that in the 60s through into the early 90s. But
I don't really see it in the internet at all. Maybe I'm not in the right places, but all I see is these YouTube videos more than anything else.
It's because first of all, you're not very active on Facebook, and I don't think you're very active on Twitter either.
Not fucking active in anything.
And there you go. That's probably the best lesson you could take away from this. If you don't want to see any of this stuff, don't participate in social media.
Well, I am in Twitter, but I've never seen anything like this anywhere. And also, we don't have this phenomenon in Finland at all. Nothing.
And that's something I wanted to talk about. It kind of surprised me to learn that. This is largely something that happens in the United States and I guess to a lesser degree, England.
So is this in high schools or when does it start?
Usually high
college.
School and then early college. It seems like those are the ones that seem to be the big ringleaders of it. I guess there might be there's a group of, I would say, a social set of college professors that tend to support it and promote it as well, and they usually wind up getting in trouble when they stick their necks out too far. But
I knew nothing about this phenomenon until I was watching Jordan Peterson's, some of the lectures and some of the videos on YouTube.
What was he talking about?
Just fucking ganging up on him and his beliefs.
There is a very popular conservative commentator named Ben Shapiro.
I know.
Is regularly shouted down at talks that he's been asked to give. Like, liberals will literally go out of their way to get a group together and go and try to shout him down. And fortunately, Ben is very well spoken and very well educated, and he's always able to fire back at them. So
it's really hard to have discussions when the other party doesn't respect your speech or doesn't listen to you.
There was a popular one that went around for a while, and I remember seeing the video where he was talking about women's rights and abortion and things like that. And there was a young lady who stood up and kept trying to debate him on the matter. And he would come back. And the big hang-up is her entire argument was hinging on pregnancy due to rape. Like, should people who get pregnant due to rape be allowed to get abortions? And Ben Shapiro looked her in the eye and says, "It's like, all right." He's like, "I will agree with you on that 2% of abortion procedures if you are willing to agree with me that the other 98% are unnecessary." And it completely shut her up. She would not agree with him on it, but yet she kept but rape. And so, I mean, I'm going to get into a discussion here about abortion or the rights or wrongs of it, but he kept trying to come back to her with these facts, and the young lady refused to see him on it. And so she and several others eventually just got up and walked out of the room because they accused him of hate speech.
But I think at some point you lose the track of your own opinion if you're this sort of a person, social justice warrior. You don't even remember what you were rallying for at some point.
Yeah, they don't know, half of them know what they're rallying for or even why. There are a lot of times where, there are people who go out and they'll poll these people and they'll ask them questions about why they're protesting, and they don't even really know. These are the people who get the most attention on social media, and that's where the problem lies.
So attention seeking, probably a big part of it. Those extroverts getting out there.
Yeah.
Because now you can.
And the only thing it takes to become a leader in a situation like this is determine which way the crowd is heading and then jump out in front of them. There was a lady who was the head of an AARP chapter. If you don't know what NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady who was the head of this chapter, I think it was in Washington or somewhere in the area. Somebody might correct me on that if you find out. But Rachel Dolezal was her name. And come to find out, she wasn't even black. She identified as black.
That reminds me of Bruce Jenner, who was against gay marriage.
Yes.
wait, what?
Yet,
I don't swing that way. But
it drives me up the wall. It's like this lady identified as being black, and she was trying to fight for, I guess, black rights and everything. And all these black people are like, "You're not black. What are you doing?"
It's identifying as black.
Identifying as black. I'm gonna do that from now on.
That's a hair scratcher, right there.
My name is now Tyrone.
Tyrone. If you really think about it, Bruce Jenner is a fellow who changed himself into a woman, and he is now dating someone who changed themselves into a man? What kind of an era do we live in?
So here's the head scratcher. Does that make them gay, or does that make them straight?
Makes them ill.
And that's what it really boils down to. I mean, they're just messed up in the head.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know. I am all for someone's right to be what they think they want to be. If you want to be a guy who dresses up like a woman and pretends to be a woman, I support your right to do that. I don't necessarily think you're right in the head for doing it.
Yeah, just don't shove it up our faces.
Yeah, you have absolutely no right to demand that I respect that, but you could go out and do it all you want. And
today on Genders, Unsound Logic. That's coming later.
Yeah, we'll save gender another day. I have a feeling. Well, that's another one that I could sum up in one phrase, but I could also talk for a while about it too. So
a while is good. People have short attention spans these days. After the advent of the internet.
They do. They really do. I don't understand why these are only a problem that is prevalent in the United States and England. What makes Finland? What makes Finland so different?
We are introverts, most of us. We don't really care about each other's. Nobody really cares about anything. We just live. We do our own things, and that's the day.
Well, what about the French? They can't stay out of anybody's business if they tried.
I don't know.
They don't seem to have a problem with this.
Or don't we just know about it? Maybe they do have a problem. We just don't hear about it in the news. Who's gonna report about social justice warriors in fucking France?
Well, unless it's directly related to Islam, I don't think you probably would get anything, because that's all we ever hear about is when the Muslims blow something up in France. That's the only time we ever hear about anything in France here.
So it's a phenomenon in the US. I don't get it.
I don't either, and it makes me sad because I love my country very much. I have a lot of national pride, and it pains me that this is a uniquely American problem. It makes us look like immature idiots.
But I think it has been going on for at least a couple of years now. in this form.
Yes.
This is a new thing.
If you had said the term social justice warrior 10 years ago, you'd have a lot of people scratching their heads and looking at you, wanting to know what you're talking about.
Well, it's kind of like being a feminist 40 years ago. Right now, if you're called a feminist, it's like, what did I do wrong? You could have been proud if you were a fucking feminist 40 years ago. Not so much today.
I think they actually have what they call, they determine like first, second, third, and I think fourth wave feminism. I think there's actually 4 different waves of it, depending on when it happened.
Just change the fucking title.
Feminism 4.0.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Social justice warriors have the ideology that they victimize different categories of people and they forget the individual. So they have groups of people based on skin color, fucking religion, gender, sexual orientation, and then they are telling those groups what to think instead of what they want to think.
For most social justice warriors I have ever seen or read about or encountered, I've actually only encountered a few, mostly because I just don't go places where there's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But it seems to me that if you are a straight white male, you are the worst human being on the face of the planet, as far as
right now, yes,
concerned.
In their minds, what
your existence?
Yeah, in their minds, this is raising women over men, gays and trans over straight, Muslims above Christians and whatnot. And in their minds, this balances out the different equality problems.
And they will wage total war on anyone who disagrees with them.
Yeah, even the groups themselves, I don't think they want anything to do with SJWs at this moment.
Most of them don't. Like, just the very extreme left people. Very extreme.
Just like not us.
Yeah, very not us. Again, I have no problem with people having an opinion about something or whatever, but it's the moment you go to belittle me or my beliefs, that's when I have the issue.
You know what the biggest enemy of SJWs is, though? Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. You are absolutely right.
For them, it's important not to hear different opinions, so it's just so it doesn't hurt their feelings.
About it is most social justice warriors will promote diversity and free thinking and free speech as long as it agrees with them.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you
and only with their opinions.
Yes, and the moment you disagree, then there is something wrong with you, and you must be shouted down and stamped out and eliminated from society.
So whatever they disagree on, they demand to be banned or censored.
Yes. There is an author who wrote a series of books. The author's name is Laura Ingalls Wilder. She wrote a very popular series of books called Little House on the Prairie. And they are being lambasted now for their depiction of blacks and Native Americans in the time period in which the books were written, which at the time period, blacks and Native Americans were treated like crap. That's there is no one who will deny that. But never mind the fact that these are considered literary masterpieces, people are wanting these books censored. She's had awards taken away from her family because of her depiction of blacks and Native Americans in her books.
And the main problem right now is we have people saying black people, white people, when you just say fucking people. That's where the issues rise.
It is the issue.
You have groups.
So, and I'm catching myself quoting someone that I never thought I would quote. I'm actually going to quote a very liberal president from the 60s. Lyndon B. Johnson once said, "We do not have a white problem. We do not have a black problem. We have an American problem."
Mm-hmm. That's what you seem to have.
And it kills me that I actually had to quote a liberal president to get that out there. But that's exactly the sort of thing he was talking. He was talking about civil rights at that point, but it's the same sort of thing.
We might have some social justice warriors here, but they're probably not getting any attention. Like, nobody gives a shit. So they just get depressed and anxious, and that's their life.
Yeah, there's not anyone that I've noticed in any circles, like any Twitch feeds or Twitter feeds or anything like that I mean, there's some that's been retweeted from people that I know, but it's usually saying, look at this stupid individual.
Yeah. Do you think that this is somehow, these people are fighting their depression or anxiety this way, trying to find purpose in life and doing this?
I don't know if it's so much that they're trying to find purpose, so much as I think they're denying reality. I think they're trying to convince themselves that this isn't real life. That because most of these people honestly believe that their way is right and nothing else is right. So when something happens that they don't agree with, well, they tell themselves, well, that can't possibly have been right because who would do such a thing? It's not what I think.
They're so far down the rabbit hole at this point.
So it may be causing some depression. I suspect it's probably causing a lot of depression. It would for me. But when you base your entire ideology and your reason to exist on opinions and not facts, I mean, it's a shaky boat to begin with. You're bound to run into trouble. I don't know what they would expect.
I think one of the problems we have here is modern parenting. That has to be one of the contributors. Parents raise their kids in a way where everything they do is special and they get rewarded whether or not they deserve it. And when they attend sports, for example, everyone gets a fucking prize. Nobody wins. It's like we have no winners anymore. They're not going to feel bad. They're not going to feel good. Everything's just fine and dandy. You're not going to learn from that.
Nobody gets spanked. Nobody gets punished.
I'm not saying that using a belt on your kids is good, but man, that used to work.
Worked on me. It didn't take but a few times for the point to get across.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did get paddled in school in the 3rd grade.
Interesting. That's probably in the 60s that was a thing here. Getting snapped on your fingers with a fucking ruler or something.
Oh, no. I got paddled on the butt with a big wooden paddle.
The fuck did you do?
I believe I wasn't paying attention in class.
Okay. That's a bit of a steep reaction.
And, well, it wasn't that I just did it once. It was repeatedly the teacher would ask me to pay attention and I wouldn't do it. So I think I was too busy drawing.
But I think the result of this parenting is the reason for these teenagers thinking they deserve some kind of special treatment right now.
Special treatment, and they think that there's no consequences for acting out.
Yeah, they were given everything as a kid, and now they still think the world spins that way. They deserve everything that they need and want. We are not to punish them, we are not to criticize them, and if we do, we are probably being locked up to one of their lockers with a staple on us. Racist!
Yeah, and very much not preparing them for life in the real world. Because these people are about to enter the workplace. Some of them already have. And like I said, there's several teachers out there, I think, that support all this, and they're out there teaching kids this sort of thing. And there are several classes where, like, if you have a conservative opinion, the teacher will actually shut you down and send you out of class. And these are colleges, universities, places that are supposed to be institutions of free thinking and a place where you can hear dissenting opinions and hold court about it and discuss it. And they're not even giving kids that opportunity.
Well, what is happening in this goddamn world? Like, even having this discussion is fucking surreal. I don't get it. If it's
happening here now, how long is it going to be before it hits a place like Finland or Sweden or somewhere close? Sweden probably already has some of it, I bet.
Probably, but could this be another fucking fad, like fucking Pokemon?
I sincerely hope so. And my concern is that it's just going to swing so much in the opposite direction that we're gonna get a military state out of it.
Drink a pint and wait for it to blow over.
I can only hope that all happens after I'm dead and gone.
Brings a lot of channels views, brings a lot of news outlets, things to talk about, brings in a lot of money,
yes,
believe it or not.
I mean, it's given them all kinds of job security.
That's the amazing part.
And it's just the more ludicrous it is, the more people eat it up. It's the sick society we live in.
The sad thing is,
car crash. When you go by, you're not so much concerned about the damage to the vehicles. You're looking for the bodies.
I'm just looking at the vehicle. God damn, good car ruined again.
Well, yeah, us rational people. But everybody else is like, oh my god, I want to see the blood and gore and the bodies. And
who the fuck wants to see that?
Why do you think people watch American football? Nobody watches American football for the gameplay. They want to see bodies flying through the air. They want to see arms broken. They want to see blood. Nobody cares about the game.
You're correct.
We watch it because we must be pleased in blood, and that is why we rule the free world.
Oh. God damn it! So, how do you reckon? That's an English term. How do you reckon these people find the followers? So, when they rally against something that they don't believe themselves in, how do they get the people behind them?
I think they look for people who don't have an opinion on something, and then they shame them for not having an opinion, and they try to reel them in with why they should feel the same way the other people do.
So is this just gonna, like, how does an individual get over this? like, okay, there's a social justice warrior. How does he or she? How do they get better? When is it over? How long does it fucking take?
I had a really morose response for that, but I'm going to reel that in and be a little nicer. I was going to say, as soon as oxygen quits flowing to the brain, then problem solved. But
but that can't keep going until you're like, there are no 50-year-olds who are fucking social justice warriors.
No, there really aren't.
It's a teenage thing. So at some point, it has to blow over. Right?
We can hope so. I mean, I think it will for some, because most teenagers tend to be a little more on the liberal side just because they don't have real world experience to whittle down their beliefs and kind of edify them. So I think as some of these people get older, they might, quote unquote, grow out of it.
If we had the internet growing up, I would have posted so much shit online that I would be depressed right now, probably, about that. But, like, these kids have internet, yes, right? When they are developing. So could that be something that has to do with it? Because I'm pretty fucking sure if I had the internet when I was like 7, 10, 15, I would have posted so much shit. And so many dumb opinions. So that has to be some.
Just because you have that voice does not mean it's worth hearing.
I guess that has something to do with it then. Because
because here's the thing. I grew up, and you to a lesser extent, we grew up in the generation where the internet was the new thing, and we kind of wrote the book as we went. And a lot of us, I think, were kind of hesitant to share some of that sort of stuff on the internet just because we didn't think it was anyone else's business.
Yep. I remember thinking the internet was rather scary at that point. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know what I could do.
And, I certainly didn't think it was incumbent upon any regular person to just start spouting their public opinions on things and trying to raise armies up to feel the same way and everything. And that's just, I don't know at what point that became the thing to do, but I came from a generation of 4chan users whose motto was the internet is not your personal army. Facebook is not your personal army. Social media is not your personal army, and you're a very, very, very bad person if you try to do something like that. We used to kick people out like that. Now, 4chan, all the social justice warriors, things have really changed.
Do you have the methods to stop these people, or is it just gonna have to wither away on its own?
I would like to think that common sense will carry the day, but I don't know anymore.
You can fight them.
Can fight this.
Yeah, you can fight them. You can fight the crying teenagers with fucking facts.
Yes.
But it's not like they're gonna respond to it.
They won't. But sooner or later, I think their ideals are going to run out on them. They're going to enter a situation where their new liberal ideals tell them things should go one way, and it's definitely not going to go that way. And then they're going to be left wondering, well, what have I been thinking about all this time?
I think the title is misleading. Social justice warrior. It's more like attention-seeking professional victim. Isn't it really?
You can wear multiple hats. It could be the same thing.
The sole reason they are fucking hated is because they rally against intolerance, but they become intolerant in the process.
And this should make me proud. This should make us proud because we're two of the most intolerant people in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yet,
but they're
see where that leads.
For the wrong reasons.
I just thought about something. This might raise another issue. So rather than you debating against a person's view, it's now easier to just put them under, you're just a social justice warrior and you're done with it. Is this an issue?
I think it could be, because on one hand, it means we're kind of giving up on them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, at what point, that's kind of a nebulous thing. At what point is it worth giving up on someone? I mean, do you feel like you're just sitting there spinning your wheels, or can you really make some headway?
I'm just happy I can completely ignore this. If I want to see this, I just go online and find it. I don't actually have to get succumbed to it.
Wait till you visit the U.S. We'll take you somewhere where there's a lot of it going on.
I'm not going to visit.
Scared Nico away from the U.S.
I'm pretty sure if I went to high school or college now, I probably would see something like that, but not in the same level. Probably nowhere near.
I'd be interested to see how things are in Finland.
Thank God I'm out of school like 15 years ago.
Maybe next time you go to that grocery store you're always going to where you think you steal stuff, you can go corner some kid and be like, hey kid, what's going on in school these days? What do the young fresh kids do these days?
Yep. What's hip with the kids?
Hey kid, want to play some Mega Man?
Not to discuss genders, but this brings up another fun thing. SJW's in sports we can see some effects because men turn themselves into women. They go weightlifting in a competition and they win them. Of course they're gonna fucking win. So SJW's rally with it, saying it's okay, you should be more tolerant, this is acceptable. No, it's really not. It's not acceptable.
I actually know a female cross-country runner that lost to a transgender woman and is very unhappy about that fact because she placed a time that she never should have been able to as a woman, and that really upset her because...
men are able to produce a lot more muscle mass. They're a lot more... They're more strong. That's a fact.
Women, I've always believed in the philosophy of different but equal. Women can do pretty much anything a man can do. She might have to work a little harder at the physical stuff, but men are going to have to work a little harder at the cerebral stuff. So it's kind of a trade-off.
So I heard about this in the news. Some guy actually did win such a competition like weightlifting. Yes. And the commentators were like, look at those fucking gorilla hands. I'm not sure if they still have their jobs.
Those are cricket bats.
I personally think you should not be able to partake in such a competition if you used to be a man. Women's competition, no way. No fucking way.
If they need to do a whole separate division just for transgender, then whatever, fine. But you should not be able to compete with a naturally born male or female.
Yeah, if you change your gender, you should not be categorized under either man or a woman on those competitions. It's just fucking. It's just it makes sense.
Advantage.
Yep.
And we're diving back into the gender thing. We really, really, really want to go into the gender stuff. It seems like.
But they are so close together because SJWs rally with these things. Like they think this is fine.
Yes.
But I don't care. I don't care about sports. Just a hilarious thing to think about. You can do whatever they fucking want.
Yes. Well, that's the big thing here in the past year or so has been bathrooms. Like there's a big popular retail chain that openly announced that you are allowed to use the bathroom that you identify with. If you identify
God. Oh, Jesus.
They've already had several accounts of guys being dragged out of there for trying to peep on women in the bathroom.
What's up, ladies?
Who said that they identified as women.
How you doing? Got your menstruation cycle yet?
They have since backed off of that. I think they just went to having unisex bathrooms, and that was their solution to the problem. And actually, I'm okay with that. That's really kind of how things should be anyway, I think. But...
there's a female, and then there's a male, and then there's bathrooms. Based on that...
people shouting down to anyone who's against that situation, that you must be a bigot. And it's
intolerant.
It's all about
racist.
Why?
Sure, there are people who are born with no genitals or like fucking both of them, and that's okay. That's like 5 people in a billion or something.
That's and again, that's something I intend to go over when we discuss gender. But it's already easy enough for peeping toms or whatever to get into these bathrooms and people. Why would you open that door even wider and make it even easier?
Because equality.
Because equality.
But you know what is funny about this? It has actually affected video games as well.
It has.
Because they rally with video games. They need to have a female protagonist. And then developers actually changed the games because they're fucking scared. Scared of what? Teenagers. That pisses me off.
If I ever hear Anita Sarkeesian talk about another game that needs a better female protagonist or needs a better dressed female protagonist or anything else, I'm going to be like, okay, go play Gears of War, go play God of War, go play any other game and tell me that men aren't equally sexualized. Yep. And, it's... first of all, she's not even a gamer, so I don't even know why she's
Yeah, I don't know who are you even talking about, because I don't follow anything.
Anita Sarkeesian is stupid. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, I can take that. So they effectively, I think, I'm not sure if the game ever came out, but there was a male protagonist changed to a female protagonist because of these claims, and then that wasn't enough. It was changed to a transsexual person. I don't think the game, I can't remember, probably never came out, because they got sick of the backlash. They just quit the process and scrapped everything. But I don't know why people let this phenomenon go into them. Why does it matter what they think? Who cares?
I don't think as many people let it bother them as the media would like you to believe.
Doesn't bother me.
And the reason I say that is because unless you're in the United States, either on the East Coast or the West Coast, where liberals tend to gather, either in New York City or in California or wherever, you don't see a lot of that in most of the country. And yet the liberal media gives these type of stories the most attention of anything in the news today.
Yeah, it's always the same thing, especially if you look at murders and such. They always highlight the killer, not the victims.
Yes.
So it just happens every time.
And even like in rape cases, if it's a case of a woman raping the man, the phrase then becomes like sexual assault or something like that. They never ever use the word rape when the woman is the aggressor.
I can't wrap my head around this. I'm sorry. Help me.
I can't wrap my head around it either. There is no logic to it. There's no reason or rhyme or anything. It's just a small group of people who have a way bigger voice than they ought to, and they're inadvertently calling a lot of shots as a result.
Most of them are 15, 20 years old, and their fucking brain isn't even developed fully yet.
People who have absolutely no idea how the real world works. They had that big shooting at the school down in Florida, and one of the kids from the school became, I don't know who decided it was a good idea to listen to this kid speak, but he started giving speeches about anti-gun laws and things like that. And next thing you know, he's like, he's plastered all over CNN giving talks about anti-gun laws and things like that. And I'm just like, doesn't even know how to drive a car yet. Why would anyone listen to his political opinion?
Yeah, I think people should not be able to vote until they're like 28.
I think you could make an argument for later than that, because I know plenty of 28-year-olds who are dumber than a box of rocks.
Yeah. Me too.
I think we might know some of the same ones.
That's a weird one.
But these people are not in a position. Okay, it's great that they are in high school and they have an opinion about something and they think it's worth fighting for. I applaud that, actually. Yeah. I'm glad that they do that. But they should not realistically expect anyone over the age of 21, well, over the age of 25, I'll say, maybe a little later than that. They should not expect these people to give any type of weight or credence to this because they don't have the life experience to back it up.
If I was a parent of one of these kids, I would feel like I failed. What did I do wrong?
The problem is most of those parents are like, oh, my baby's being such a grown-up and having grown-up opinions. And no, they're really not. Not necessarily.
Man. Oh, God. SJWs, they just need a safe room to play in with their Play-Doh so they don't get hurt.
With their crayons.
I see they give them that room and lock them up.
And slowly turn the heat up a little every 5 minutes.
This is one of those podcasts where you just need to rub your fucking eyes every 5 minutes.
My hands have been on my temples pretty much ever since we started.
I was watching Tom Segura's bits on words we can't use anymore. It's kind of the goes with the topic. Like midget. You can't say that anymore. I used to say that all the time when I was a kid. Like there are so many words right now. Just a while ago. You can't say that. It's little person.
So then what are they supposed to say? Vertically challenged individual? Or because
the thing about that is that even the little persons, they don't like that new term. They hate it. It's belittling. Literally.
Huh.
Like if you tell them if you use the word little person, they will get fucking upset usually. They don't like it. But then social justice warriors rallying with it, you should use that term because it's appropriate. You should use that.
And it's really funny that the social justice warriors are trying to force something on the midget community that they don't even agree with.
Yeah,
that's happening somewhere else too. I think it's with the Native Americans. It's not even considered. Usually we call them Indians, and now I think they're trying to say that that's a bad word too. Don't call them Indian. And I'm like, no, calling them Injun is bad.
Everything is
Indian bad. Is not.
There's no more words to use.
It'd be like my grandpappy and call him the Red Man.
Right.
Warning: this episode might piss you off.
It might and will. Oh my god!
If this sort of thing doesn't upset you, I can't be mad at you because you're free to have your own opinion. But man, I don't understand you.
Personally, I think it's all about the individual. If the individual gets in a bad mood for certain words, it's about them, not about the world. You have the issue, not everyone else. If you think some words are not appropriate, then you have that problem. You should live with it.
You should live with it, and if it's something that you believe that fervently about, then just be the change that you want to see. Be the example that you're wanting to teach. Don't try to force it down someone else's throat. Lead by example.
Yep, exactly. Because
come off as less of a douchebag, and people might actually start paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm. The smarter you act, people will follow you because they want to be like you.
They think, hey, that person's got their crap together. I should take a page out of their book. Not, well, this dude's standing on the corner waving his hands around like an idiot and wearing a face mask and, knocking people down for disagreeing with them and, whatever. It's no, nobody likes that. We make fun of people like that in this country, and we should make fun of people like that. Picked that and made fun of at every opportunity because you're being stupid.
And how many times the police are called in? And
all the time.
Yeah. Do you see that already? Or?
I'm lucky because of all the departments I've worked for, and especially that I most recently worked for, if you found a social justice warrior in that town, the town probably would have taken care of it before the cop ever showed up.
Because that's a huge waste of fucking time. You get there and it's just a social justice warrior having opinions. Okay, another hour wasted.
There's a big Facebook group for police and military that produced a ad that was going to be played during the Super Bowl, and it wound up getting canceled because they thought it was too incendiary. And the video portrayed a guy who saw 9/11 happen when he was a kid. It showed him like standing for the Pledge of Allegiance during his high school football game, and then he goes into the military. And as soon as he gets out of the military, he joins the police. And the video shows him like standing guard at a riot. And all these people are like, throwing stuff at them and, saying negative things about the police. And he's just standing there, and you can almost see the tears streaming down the side of his face. Like, why are these people doing this? And then they start to rush him, and the last thing you see is he whips his baton out.
So why was that taken out?
Because the NCAA, the NFL thought it was too incendiary. They thought it was not necessarily it's not like anti-Black Lives Matter, but just like it was promoting. It didn't fit with their progressive beliefs. They thought it was a little too nationalistic and a little too, pro-police. And
well, it might be. I'm not saying that it's
not. It really is. I mean, I don't deny that. It's absolutely pro-police, and being a police officer, I was 100% okay with that. But since, the NFL is I like to call them the National Felons League because so many of their players beat their wives and don't go to jail for it.
Yep.
Of course they didn't want to show it because that would be like the antithesis of everything they stand for. So in that case, that was NFL. That was the NFL being a social justice warrior, and they were a mighty big one.
So you might be able to tell me then, what was that one video game where you went around killing a lot of black people? I can't remember. There was a game like that, but it's God, what's it called? What's the zombie game? Resident Evil, one of them. Had a lot of black people in it as zombies. People got upset.
I must have missed that.
Okay, I think it was Resident Evil. So I'm just wondering, is that part of the social justice warrior phenomenon, or is that just legit getting a bit of uneasy with that fact? If you see, there's a game that you're going around killing 90% of people who are black, does that come from yourself thinking that way? Or is that an actual problem? Or is that your own problem? Do you see racism there?
It's I don't know. For me, it's very personal. Like, I don't see that sort of stuff. Like, I don't think video games are any place for any type of social message like that. You know, if there's something that happens through the course of the video game naturally that causes you to stop and think about something or whatever, that's one thing. But these games that are going out there and trying to deliberately just shove a social justice policy down your throat or something, like getting a protagonist changed because it's not female or it's not gay or whatever, there is absolutely no reason for that.
I might be ignorant because if I played a game like that, I would probably not even notice. Like, I would just play the game.
Yeah.
Like, why would I even think about that? Is the person thinking this the racist? Because they actually noticed that.
I don't know. That's something I think about that a lot, and that's a good question. If just noticing it makes you the racist.
So all of these social justice warriors could have all of those the same issues. They are the racists. They are the intolerant.
Yeah, they're the ones calling attention to it.
There's no people. There's groups.
It's just my opinion, but I feel like the Black Lives Matter movement set black people back almost 50 years because of all the hell that they raised a few years ago with all the riots and stuff.
So, like, Middle East going backwards in evolution.
And that may be an unpopular opinion, and I understand that, but I really do feel like it because, okay, I get it when something makes you angry and you want to fight for it, but when you're burning towns down and looting, you are not helping anyone to join your cause at all. So there was a suburb of St. Louis that got absolutely wrecked. Like, the entire downtown area was basically burned to the ground, except for the church's chicken.
Oh.
But there is footage on TV of people looting these stores up and down the street. Tell me, anyone, in comments, on private message, whatever, tell me anyone how that promotes your cause, how that's going to bring people to your side. I really want to know.
Explain in a smart way to me. What the fuck is Black Lives Matter? Because we don't have that.
The Black Lives Matter movement is essentially the promotion of black people. They say just to promote equality amongst black people and to ensure that they're not being unduly or unfairly treated compared to other demographics. Most anyone who is not in Black Lives Matter identifies Black Lives Matter as a terrorist movement of all the riots they started. Again, I understand this might be an unpopular opinion, and if you're going to get upset, please take it out on me personally. Email me or whatever. We'll talk about it there. But with all the riots they start and everything else, and even when presented with facts, like there was the case I was telling you about in St. Louis where the town got rioted, there was an officer who killed a black man allegedly while he was running away. And that's a big no-no in police. You're not supposed to shoot someone in the back or anything like that. If someone's life is not directly in danger, you're not supposed to shoot somebody.
What does it matter if they're black or not?
It doesn't matter. And that's the funny thing, is it does not matter. Yet, this guy was seen struggling with the police officer in the police officer's vehicle, and the guy was clearly reaching for the police officer's gun. And so the police officer shot him.
So if race doesn't matter, why are there movements for black people?
Because black people are perceived to be...
Put this nicely now.
That's what I'm trying to do. Are perceived to be prosecuted and convicted many, many times over more than white people, especially when it comes to violent crimes or things like that. The problem is...
we just don't notice the crimes of the white people because we don't pay fucking attention.
Because white people don't get up in arms about it when we shoot a white person.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with color.
It doesn't.
It is nothing.
It has absolutely nothing to do with color. And everything to do with an individual, like you talked about. An individual who is trying to avoid responsibility for his or her actions. And either seek refuge or blame it on an entire demographic. Whether it be a race, creed, color, gender, whatever.
This article is talking about, I'm reading an article talking about how SJWs rally about climate change. What?
Oh, climate change.
What does this... What does...
Wait a minute. How is that really a social justice issue?
Are
they just like
at this point? I don't even think they know what they're doing. I don't think they know what the fuck they're doing. Also, you should not read articles online. They're all wrong.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
If there's something I want our audience to take away from all of this, it's one, when you see an article and the headline of the article gets you upset, that should be your first clue right there, that article is probably sensationalizing it, and it's either partly true or not at all true.
Mm-hmm.
So please do your research. If you see something that upsets you, look into it before you go posting about it or talking about it. Find out. Look at articles from the other side of the page. Look, if you're conservative, look at what the liberals are saying about it, and then see what the conservatives are saying about it, and then find the lowest common denominator between the two. Associated Press will never ever lie about something. They're always legit. Check with the Associated Press if you can find an article about it there, because they're just going to stick you with the facts, and they won't try to filter it for you.
But I just got a bit of a revelation out of this. I think the SJWs are the fucking problem themselves.
They absolutely are the problem.
Not us reacting with and about them. It's just themselves as individuals. Because they are victimizing all the different groups. They're putting people in fucking lockers. Black people, white people, fucking religions and whatnot.
And they're starting to turn on themselves. The whole LGBT community, or whatever the alphabet letter we're up to now. They don't even identify with other members of the same general community. People of different sexual preferences don't acknowledge the existence of the other ones, and now they're turning on one another. It's really quite a fascinating thing to watch.
Oh my god.
My blood pressure hasn't been this high in a really long time. Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed this topic. I hope you've at least learned something from it, if nothing else. If you're really angry at us, please let us know. If you're just angry at me, please email me instead. Don't take it out on us on the forums.
I don't care.
Yeah, don't try to talk to Nico, because he's probably going to ignore you when it comes to this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening, and tune in next time.